Hello, welcome to the EP7 podcast. You are here with Rachel Donovan and the founder of EP7, Mr. George Helou.
Thanks, Rachel, and thank you for joining us. We love talking about how to get the heart into everything we do to get a lot out of life.
Whether it be relationships, business, careers, you name it. So, let's get started.
Sorry, George just made me laugh before we started recording in his little countdown.
I try to put a nice lighthearted mood so that we hit the ground running.
That's right, little countdown.
We had a lovely review recently that talked about how we were lighthearted, and I think we need to keep that up. What do you reckon?
Yeah, lightheartedness is a definite big tick.
It beats a heavy heart
everywhere in life. Yeah,
it beats a heavy heart, doesn't it?
It does.
I've tried heavy hearts often, and they really don't work for me. Just doesn't work.
No.
And this is really this is the topic that we're going to talk about, huh?
Yeah, heavy hearts
and broken hearts and
because there's been George and I were talking before we went to air, and we did notice that over the past week, maybe two, there has been an incredible amount of breakups in relationships that we've noticed.
Yeah, I have, because obviously I've got quite a few clients and friends that open up, and I was just thinking to myself, what's going on? And I always check, is there a moon? Is it the moon? Is there some magnetic field affecting us, magnifying our insecurities? You know, I actually know what it's like to be afraid that you're going to end up in a relationship that is not for you. And because you don't like hurting people and you don't like failing, you can't afford to make a mistake. So your body forces you to push away. Your emotions have to, now it's fear-based. It's the opposite to love. It's amazing how the brain love is about growth and expanding and deepening our connections. And it's amazing how when you fear that you're going to be trapped, it's not going to work out, and you're not one that just gives up easily, which means it's easier to get out earlier than later. It's not good.
So are you sort of suggesting as well where it's the head or the brain is where the fear is coming from? That's what's sort of shutting down the feelings that could be really resonating in your heart and the way you feel, and the brain just says, no, for X, Y, and Z, this won't work because I've decided.
Yeah, because your brain is designed to protect you first and then help you figure out what you want out of life. But if it's feeling vulnerable and it can't predict and control its environment, it will up the ante and prioritize getting you out of any risky situations first. And all love and abundance and fun and adventure are off the table until you're safe again. Now, the brain doesn't really, I've said this a lot of times, but it doesn't have a moral compass. So it doesn't know that it's shutting you out of something that is beautiful and is going to feed you emotionally and create a wonderful future with you and someone else. As far as it's concerned, it's in danger. And the heart is, relegated to, I don't know, the what is it when you're not playing on the field? You have to be warming the bench.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, look, heart, you're just going to have to chill out. I know you want all this lovey-dovey stuff, but this is not the time to give you that, because we could end up in a relationship that's not nice. So how about you just chill out? Let me take over. Let me get all logical and protect us and shut down all the opportunities that could hurt us because we've been hurt before. Really, really bad. Do you remember? And the heart goes, look, dude, seriously, I can love into forever and I can be raw and vulnerable. I'm here to love and connect. So don't try to give me this bullcrap story that I'm supposed to wait and wait and wait for you to protect me so that I can never be hurt ever again. But the brain goes, nah, sorry, safety first. We're no good dead. And unfortunately, the brain associates potential rejection and failure with being devalued, humiliated, ridiculed, and therefore outcast. And now it's a survival issue because if you're outcast, you're on your own and that weakens you and nature can swallow you up. The brain is an association machine. It can literally associate things that are no big deal, and link them straight to life and death.
Can you give an example?
Yeah. You know when we stress?
Stress, yep.
Yeah, the stress response is you're tightening your muscles and you're raising your heart rate. Yeah? How is that relevant in peak hour traffic when you're stuck and you're going to be late for something? How does tight muscles and a speeding heart relevant? Is it going to help you drive faster or create a new lane with your magical powers or something? Can you see that it's just really dumb and that the brain is associating that if you're late, you'll lose your job, you won't be able to put food on the table and you will die? Can you see that?
Yeah.
Because if you're relaxed and then you call the people ahead and say, look, I don't know what's happened, but I'm trapped here, how about we, change the time to this and I should be free of this and I'll give you an update when I'm clear. And then when you finish the call, you know that you've taken care of the future. And of course, if you're late all the time, you may lose your job, right? But then you can get another job. So we're seeing that how the brain can associate the stress response.
Yeah.
And it's completely inappropriate.
Yeah.
To what's going on in front of you.
To what's going on, exactly. And why would someone listen to their head over their heart?
You see, because the head is in control. So it's not a question of when you are seeing the world through the assumptions of your brain wiring, and that brain wiring is telling you the world right now is threatening and there's not enough and you better make the right choices, otherwise you'll be stuck for life. Can you see what's going on there?
It's terrorizing your mind.
Well, look, at the end of the day, we're born and we're mimicking our environment, and then every traumatic event makes the brain have to conclude that anything that remotely ever looks like that again, you better be prepared to protect, to fight, to shut down. So I can see, even with my own personal experiences of a couple of broken hearts in my life, it made me fear commitment. And I didn't know I was fearing commitment. I just was thinking that I don't want to keep ending up with the wrong girls. I'm sick of ending up with girls that take me down a path where it's either game playing or it's just all pain and misery and suffering, and I can never connect to just all the beauty that's in front of me with them to build something great. It's always putting out fires and drama, and I'm not beautiful enough and no one loves me, and and then I have to be the rescuer, and then, or they shut down and they won't let me know what's going on. Either way, I'm sick of that crap. So then can you see the problem? Because if I get into the next relationship and she has an issue, I'm now getting triggered subconsciously that, here we go again. But we all have issues. We all have ups and downs. What's the big deal? But you don't know that. You don't know why you're shutting down and you're losing your attraction for the person. And then so you leave that person to the next one and the next one. And you think, wow, it's hard to find the right person. Well, there are two parts to that. The way you are won't let you find the right person for a start. And, there are opportunities. There are opportunities in every relationship to deepen your connection and grow. And if you're just trying to force what you think is going on into assumptions based on your past, then you're just processing people in your life and you're not truly being present with the abundance, the beauty, the love that's there to be discovered and found. And by the way, you may go there and they may shut down and not go there, but at least then you only move on because they've shut down. Not because you're afraid that they're not the right person. How about you go deep enough to find out? Because remember when we looked at the 4 layers and the true identity is timelessly beautiful and amazing. Well, we need to be the person that goes there for other people before we decide whether they're right and wrong. And I didn't have that awareness at all. Instead, I was arrogant and I thought, well, I'm not finding the right person for me. But our conversation, Rach, was about what happens when there's so much beauty in someone and they're shutting down on you. And everything you try to do to give them a reason not to shut down is not working. That's not fun.
No, it would be awful. And that's what I was just sort of thinking about. If you're on the receiving end of someone who is shutting down, that feeling sort of, helpless, angry, deeply sad and depressed. And what do you do with that?
Yeah. What do you do with that? There's probably a lot you can do with it. But obviously the first thing we want to agree on is that at best you're inviting them to think differently and you're very mindful that their free will interpret whatever you say and negate any of it as they please. And you can try, but if you notice the pattern that they're not interested in understanding where you're coming from, they're not interested in the depth of what's supporting your ideas, your questions, then you would need to respect that they're not interested. They're too afraid. Maybe they're not being honest with you for the reasons. Maybe they're too afraid to know the reasons themselves. But you deserve better. And I think that we need to be in touch with our self-worth through this, because if we don't let our self-worth drive how we relate, then our attachment will be unhealthy. We will filter their rejection as we are not good enough. We will project that no one will want us. And if the person's being cruel because they're shutting down something that's great between you and them, you're being doubly cruel because you're making it all your fault and you're losing your own confidence in your own self. Like, that makes no sense, right? So we need that there. So then what would you do next? You would invite them to open up, wouldn't you, with genuine questions where your purpose is to just appreciate where they're coming from and that your tone is unjudgmental and sincere, that if they want to give up on the relationship, that they must have their reasons and you care enough about them and that you've earned the right for them to care about you, that you would want to understand. Well, I like the idea that you make it very difficult for someone to get away with being illogical. And generally, when fear drives our actions, the brain has this ability to not notice the illogical positioning, and we can therefore get away with acting in a silly way and disconnecting from love and the opportunities that are so obvious to other people around us. And what our job is to, can we facilitate and richly contextualize what's really going on, so that if it becomes incredibly inconvenient to them because they're starting to feel, oh gosh, I feel exposed that what I'm asking for that for the wrong reasons, and that's weakening my position, and I'm feeling like I'm losing power here. Well, yeah, your position deserves to be powerless because it's based on lies. It's based on fear. And then they've got two things to do with that. Either they're confused because they're realizing you're making a lot of sense and what's going on with them, and they decide to take the risk, move out of their comfort zone, and just turn on all the reasons why they think it has to be that way. And then as you untangle the weird assumptions, the misinterpretations, everything, it's almost like they're being given a reason to be set free from the deception that hijacked the way they're perceiving themselves and you. But the other way it could go is they can't afford to be powerless, so they can't afford to talk about it, because the more they talk about it, the less credibility they have for why they need to do what they do. So they shut down.
Is there, correct me if I'm wrong, but something you said there, does it sound like there's a lot of ego involved with that kind of needing to be in power and needing to not be wrong and needing to prove things, or?
Yeah, but ego, I mean, I generally, for some reason, as much as for many, many years, I understand that ego in its pure definition is apparently that the connection God. So we are altered from that. So right. The true term is altered ego, but we've dropped altered and we just say ego, right? Mm-hmm. But it's important to understand that it's altered because we never feel connected to God or the universe or some beautiful source of origin where we feel like we're not alone, we're not isolated.
Right.
So as you can imagine, we run around with this illusion that we're separate, and therefore that altered ego is this yearning to feel like we belong, we matter. And then we're raised to try to connect with any idea that we can attach to give us a sense of belonging and that we matter, including right and wrong, including achievements. You see what happens? And so we point at ego and go, wow, what's with the ego? Well, we all have it. But yes, you can now see that when a person's too afraid of being weak, it's like they're going to be seen as an unreasonable person, a foolish person. Well, that's scary. We're going back to the survival issue. They're going to be outcast because they're useless. So who wants to be useless? Then the coping mechanism is to shut down and protect.
Ah, right, yeah.
Like a hermit crab.
Mm-hmm.
Those little critters, man, you just have to dangle your finger next to them. They're in there. So, you know what? I imagine hermit crabs when I watch people shut down. I just see this big shell and it's like, I'm out of here.
Mm.
But when you are heartbroken and you're seeing someone in front of you that you love, and none of it that is now making that love fall apart makes sense to you, and you're pleading for sanity, for that there's always a way to connect and not let the trickery that love doesn't have to exist between you. Come on, it's like, let's fight for that, because that's what life's about. When you feel very helpless and disillusioned by all that, you owe it to yourself to reach out to them and invite them not to be nonsensical, and that love is worth it, and that you should never let fear quash love. You should always put love first and let your brain serve it. See, the brain is supposed to serve your heart, right? And yes, sometimes we're in danger. You know, like you don't see the bus, you have to jump out of the way. Tight muscles, adrenaline, very helpful, right? But how often do we really need to feel highly stressed? See, someone shutting down is stressing out. So they're tightening up physically. They are numbing emotionally because they're shutting that down, their ability to feel. Because if they feel, then they have to be conscientious. And then the guilt is a motivator. The shame of robbing someone of answers they deserve is hard to bear with a conscience. So we literally force ourselves to be apathetic. We disconnect from those feelings because they're incredibly inconvenient and they're going to get us killed. That's the position. It's like, well, you can't afford to feel here. What's wrong with you? You need to run, boy. And mentally they shut down. They go blank. They don't want to know. They can't afford to know. And so what do you do with that? You need to call it. However, most people, including men, actually want a genuine, authentic, intimate relationship based on absolute love, loyalty, trust, respect, and they want the mateship with the guys, but they want that woman that has got their back and she's just adores them and and he adores her. And rather than, because look, I know many men, and I've been there, who after the 10th, 11th, 15th, 20th, 30th relationship, you're very lonely because it's all surface connection. There's no depth of growing and getting raw, real and vulnerable so that you feel so safe and appreciated for who you really are and where you're stuck. Because if someone accepts that, it's just so beautiful to be around someone like that, right? So if a man is not ready and courageous enough for that, or a woman, but, let's just stick to bashing the men for being commitment phobic, all right? That was meant to be a joke, guys. Relax, all right? Then can you see that it's what you just need to see it for where it's at, and it might take them a year or 2 or 10 or never, but that's their journey now. You need to come into your own and go, well, what is it about me and how I get into a relationship and I don't connect to where they're really at with their values? Do I want to be more intuitive, more in my flow, in the way I connect with where guys are at, where a potential partner's at, so that when I choose to be attached, I'm attaching to something that's real, that I can build something great with, not someone who's just loving the fun and loving the short-term convenience of the benefits. All right, so can you see that once you start to explore these assumptions, the guy is going to have to come to terms with, or girl, I know I have to keep saying, I can't help it, right? Has to come to terms with they're too scared, they don't care, they just want to have fun. Because Rachel, what is a typical excuse and reason for the breakup?
Usually you hear it's not you, it's me.
Yeah.
And a typical reason could be that, I don't know, it would be something petty, like something not really.
Well,
when things are working well.
Yeah, but when you hear it's not you, it's not you, it's me. Then your job is to say, tell me about you. Tell me what it is about you that makes you the problem and not me. Is it commitment? Is it courage to choose love over fear? Is it that you're afraid that you haven't lived life and you need to go out and meet many more personalities, and you're afraid that I might be limiting the right girl for you? What is it? Because it's him, right? Not you. Now, can you see that the potential for a guy to shut down is quite high when he can get that confronting?
Of course.
Yeah. So, in other words, it is you, but you don't know what it is about you. But why don't you go there? I'd love to help you go there, even if it's not for our benefit. It's for your benefit in the future, so that you don't keep breaking hearts. Because one thing I know about you and me and anyone is we don't like breaking hearts. We don't like hurting people. And for me, I hated breaking hearts. So you know what I found myself doing? It took me 3 months to break up with girls.
Like you pushed them away gradually, sort of thing.
Yeah, we spoke about that in the past. I would have to find a way to break up. So all you people who are trying to understand why a partner is sometimes into you but often not, and you're wondering and you're confused, there's a good chance that when they're in a good mood, they're not feeling so vulnerable, that they are allowing themselves to connect to you. But too often, when they're feeling vulnerable and in a bad mood, they go back to their old way, which is they don't want to be around you, they don't want to be with you, but they don't want to hurt you, so that they don't text you as often. They're not as thoughtful. They don't do all these things. So don't be confused with the mixed signals. The mixed signals they're swinging between the good mood where they can be vulnerable and have a connection and they're into you and they believe in love and everything. But you got to ask yourself, do you want a part-time lover who would rather be not around you 70% of the time or 80% of the time? Hold your partner accountable to the inconsistencies, the contradictions, because your gut will tell you something's not right and you deserve to go there with eyes wide open, ears wide open, your senses heightened, to draw in the truth of what's really going on, because you deserve to be informed if that person's compatible with you, if their heart's in it or not. And if you're doubting, of course you want to move beyond the doubt, don't you? You want to move beyond the doubt. And to move beyond that doubt, you have to be open and go there and seek to understand more and more and more. And if they don't want to go there, they feel inconvenienced by you talking about it, tell them that to shut down is to disconnect, is to end the relationship. Oh, Rachel, you're taking notes. That's awesome. You've got a few girlfriends you want to help out. That's good to see. Now,
well, George, that's really good. I think we've covered a lot in terms of someone shutting down, the person on the receiving end of that, trying to inspire them, but also knowing when you need to look after yourself and accept and just bow out, because you do deserve better.
Yeah, so I guess what we're saying here is lose your tolerance for being kept in the dark, confused, and receiving mixed signals. Like, come on. If you got to believe love is easier than that. Love is not meant to be sorting out through more poo just to get to the cute pony. It's not right.
We need to be reminded of that, like myself included. I know at times you just put up with things because you just love the person, when really if things are like that, then it's not normal. It's not okay.
Yeah. I remember in The Matrix, I think it was Matrix 2, where there was maybe a train station, underground, subway setting, and the question was asked, what is love? And I think the word was the connection. And if you just keep it that simple and you go, do I feel connected? No. Can I invite the person to connect? Yes. Do I love them enough to know that we need to honor that connection and feed it? So you start to communicate and invite them to connect and they refuse. They want to shut down. They're not in the mood. They don't want to talk about it. Then you need to realize there is no relationship. Or at best, it's part-time or on-call casual when it suits them. No, you don't build a life partnership on that nonsense. So if you don't create a boundary then and there where you have too much dignity and self-worth and you're ready to turn on the love, but if it's not reciprocated, you could love yourself on your own. You don't need them to be a witness. So you can just let them go on their merry way and make room for someone that wants to reciprocate. And look, I know some people thinking, but what if it's the right one? What if he's the one of my dreams? Really? How much evidence do you need? How many experiences do you need to collect? How much data needs to be in front of you to read what's really going on? Because the truth bubbles. It shows up all the time. And we're the ones that are in denial that want to ignore like there are cracks in the foundation, right? Insecurity. And then all these, it's bubbling up with behavior that is not based on love. And we're ignoring it. And then we make excuses. Oh, he's having a bad day. Oh, she's had a hard life. Oh, really? Great. Well, then what are you doing? You're setting up a foundation of quicksand and you think you're going to build a loving partnership from that. It's not going to happen. So you have to believe in abundance. You have to believe that there are many beautiful people out there that are ready for the commitment, ready to be vulnerable and open up in that connection so that, half the equation is being right for each other. The other half is becoming the person that's complementary because we're malleable. We can become more and more who we really are, which is compatible with anyone if you think about it. If you were to deconstruct and strip down all the qualities that make someone incredibly special for you, all of those things you can be and everybody wants them. So where's the right person? I think the only thing that's relevant in about finding the right person is simply because if your heart's into specific things, specific adventures, specific sport or interests in, and you want someone that loves that, wants to live in that world for a while, then great. There's a compatibility there that you can value. But you may actually lose interest in some of those things, and so will they over time. So obviously the relationship is less about the individual interests and more about the honoring of each other through the principles and values of having a sublime connection. A dignified one where you feel like you're one without compromising your own wholeness within yourself. So to help you heal, look, here's my theory, okay? And I personally have had this experience, so maybe it's just me, maybe I'm weird, but if you can expose the truth of what's really going on, and you can actually see someone being super scared and immature and they're running from the logic and the purity, it actually helps you heal faster.
Because you see it differently now, don't you?
Yeah, because the absurdity...
You really do it differently, yeah.
Yeah, the absurdity of the fact that they are being so dysfunctional around something so beautiful, it's completely not about you anymore. You see, it may be about you, hence why you're asking the questions, and is there an opportunity where you can be different because, hey, it's all about two people growing for each other. But if you're going there and you discover it's not about you and it's all about them and their fear and everything, and they run, you go, oh, wow, I didn't see that in that person. And all of a sudden you'll miss and you'll have some form of grieving because you were in love with a fantasy and they were not that. And now that you've contextualized where they're really at, you've realized that's okay. You love the ideal, but now you can go and you can find someone who matches some of those non-negotiable values, where there's courage and there's the keenness to be vulnerable. These are the non-negotiables, right? And I think that will help you heal faster.
Makes a lot of sense, George. I really think that's a huge, huge help. Because
the broken heart it stays broken because, look, the grieving process is natural, right? You've lost something that was dear to you. You're in denial that it's gone. Then you start to have to accept it, and it really hurts that they're really gone forever. Then you start to resolve what life can be like without them and start to, well, it's actually rewind the brain to see the world without them, so that you can't become accustomed that there's fulfillment and there's a world where you can connect to that now bypasses that disconnection that was the center stage that completely hijacked your being and made you think that you will never be connected to anything. This was it, and now it's gone, right? That's a severe broken heart that's caught in that world. Now, it's natural for us to go through that cycle, and we will go through it gracefully in a beautifully timely manner, and we heal. We do heal. And there will be no trauma if you allow yourself to go through that cycle. But how can you, when your brain can get really cruel on you and you think that you weren't lovable, they're abandoning you because you weren't worth it, and that they shut down because they didn't want to hurt your feelings, and they're keeping all these secrets away from you, that you are just inadequate and not worth it? Oh my gosh, how are you going to heal from that?
You wouldn't want to get out of bed. I've been in that position before. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. Yeah.
And that's traumatizing. And now are you going to be in a hurry to be vulnerable in the next relationship? Hell no. Can you see the self-fulfilling prophecy? Can you see how we perpetuate through those traumas that we become the very thing that we were traumatized by, because now we're the ones that are shutting down?
And, you know, George, something you said to me once, I know you've been a good friend of mine over a few of my breakups. And one thing you said to me was, one time you said, after a lot of talking, and you said, you know, and you can bounce back quickly. And I just thought, I can? Because I didn't realize, I always had this belief that a breakup meant months and months of heartache, sorrow, all this kind of thing. And you put that thought in my head, and I was like, I can?
It sparked your imagination. You became curious.
Absolutely. You go, oh, maybe I can. And so that kind of opened up this possibility about, obviously there's going to be some grieving, some sadness, but not that it was going to consume my life for months and days and weeks on end, you know, that it was like, I'm going to feel this, but hey, I can get back quicker than I thought. And that's possible. I'd never thought that. I never thought that was good. You know what I mean? So it's a really important point as well. I just thought I'd share with people as well, because that really helped me at a time. And I thought and it is true.
And if you want to learn how to bounce back and not let your feelings control you, just go and listen to Sociopath Part 1 and Part 2 of our podcast. I'm just kidding. Because you see, that's the stigma. That's the stigma. If you bounce back too quick, it means you're not a very caring person. But that's not true at all. If you bounce back quickly, it doesn't mean you weren't deep in love. It just, time does not heal wounds. It's what you do in time heals wounds, right? So everything that we've been discussing in this podcast is about what you do in that time. It's like, connect to what's really going on. Ask why. Ask why the answers is being given. Why? And if they then want to block you, then you realize they're too insecure, too vulnerable, too scared. They're choosing fear over love. They are damaged. And not even your sincerity and your love and your non-judgment and your courage and your love is melting that fear for them. It means they're too far gone. So what do you need to do? Take a deep, graceful bow and let them go peacefully. Because when you can become that kind of person that can connect to that level of detail, the truth does set you free. And the truth is the foundation of love. It supports your ability to love again. That's how you heal so quick.
I think there's a lot. You could talk about this all night.
Yeah. But do you reckon
we've definitely covered it, and I think that's been wonderful. I think that's a new quote for you, George. Time does not heal wounds. It's what you do in that time that counts. I can see that.
Actually, I've been saying that for a long time.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite quotes because it frees you from the illusion that time.
And you got to wait.
Yeah. I mean, I joke about, if your body is cut, is it the time that heals the wounds, or is your body busy clotting, creating Mother Nature's scab Band-Aid, quickly pulling in the resources to restore the tissue, and right? And yet we say, oh, yeah, look, it'll take time. Yeah, if the body heard what you said, it'd be very offended. How dare you give credit to time when we are so busy healing because of your reckless attitude, you got cut, and now we have to mend this wound, and you're saying time will heal it? It's absurd. That we have this relationship with time in that way.
Well, thank you so much for the amount of thought and words that you've just put into the podcast, because I think that's going to be really valuable to a lot of people.
This is a very long podcast.
That's fine.
So guys, we're sorry for making it too long, but we got so caught up in such a beautiful topic.
I'm not sorry, because there's a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah, I know. And hearts deserve to be healed quickly. And they deserve not to be broken for all the wrong reasons. And while we can never avoid it, we deserve to have the ability to stay vulnerable and love again, because that's how you're going to get that right person into your life, because you're going to be the right person because you're going to be open and connecting. And on that note, thank you for joining us. Enjoy creating space for some rich love in your life with a partner that you deserve and they deserve you.
Talk to you soon.
Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on another EP7 podcast. If you liked what you heard, remember to share and subscribe so you're notified of every podcast released. If you have any questions or would like to connect with us, please jump on the EP7 official Facebook page. We'd love to hear from you.